On the evening of May 3, 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine McCann vanished from apartment 5A at the Ocean Club Resort in Praia da Luz, Algarve, Portugal. Her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, were on holiday with their 2 children and friends. The adults were dining a short walk away while Madeleine slept in the family apartment. At about 10:00 p.m., Kate returned to check and found Madeleine gone. The scene was immediate and chilling. An empty bed, an open doorway, and the sudden panic that turned a peaceful vacation into a nightmare. Kate and Jerry alerted resort staff and local police, and the first frantic hours saw Policia Judiciaria officers, resort employees, neighbors, and other holidaymakers sweeping the complex and nearby streets for any sign of her. The British consulate in Faro was notified. Neighbors began posting flyers and searching fields and alleys, and within hours, media interest had brought reporters to the scene. Those opening hours set the emotional stakes: a missing child, 2 distraught parents, and a tidal wave of uncertainty that would grow into an international investigation as sniffer dogs and forensic teams joined the search. Portuguese. Policia Judiciaria detectives arrived within hours and began methodical, though controversial, searches of apartment 5A, the surrounding Ocean Club complex, and nearby streets. Some areas were sealed off, while others were allowed to be re-entered by residents and staff. Forensic teams photographed the bed, the doorway, and scattered toys. But the early handling of the scene would later be criticized for contaminating critical evidence. Neighbors, friends, and resort staff had moved through the flat and touched items before forensics could secure them. Sniffer dogs were brought in and, according to police reports, indicated the scent of a corpse inside the McCann's apartment and in the family's hire car. That finding hardened investigators' focus and fed a growing maelstrom of rumors. Subscribe, because apparently even rumors needed an audience. The inquiry, led by Goncalo Amaral, pursued house-to-house inquiries, witness statements, and timeline reconstructions. But inconsistent accounts, language barriers, and procedural choices created confusion. Official logs conflicted, key interviews were announced and then revised, and the lack of a clear forensic narrative left gaps quickly filled by tabloids. On September 7, 2007, in a dramatic escalation that shocked Britain and Portugal, Amaral formally named Kate and Jerry McCann as arguidos, or legal suspects. That status gave them new legal protections, but also triggered a volcanic global media storm. Television crews, newspapers, and online forums turned the couple's private anguish into relentless public spectacle, shifting the focus from a missing child to a criminal inquiry about her parents. That reframing intensified scrutiny, fractured public sympathy, and set the case on a darker trajectory of accusations, defamation fights, and complex international cooperation. Within weeks, the disappearance set off a macabre international hunt that reached far beyond Praia da Luz. Kate and Jerry McCann launched a high-profile Find Madeleine campaign, built a website, issued public appeals, and raised millions to pay private investigators and boost publicity, turning every European border into a possible route for an abductor. Donated funds paid private detectives and security consultants to follow dozens of tips. Amateur sleuths and paid teams chased shadowy sightings from Spain and France to the Netherlands, and even North Africa, with witnesses reporting a child matching Madeleine's description in Barcelona, on ferry routes and along motorways. The flood of leads quickly overwhelmed investigators. Hundreds of phone calls, anonymous emails, and CCTV tips produced frantic, often contradictory timelines. In May 2011, the Metropolitan Police launched Operation Grange, formally reopening the case and bringing experienced UK homicide detectives into the grim mosaic after sustained lobbying by the McCanns and members of Parliament. Forensic work continued in fits and starts, as cadaver dogs repeatedly alerted in and around apartment 5A and in the family's hire car, a Renault Scenic, prompting samples to be sent for DNA and trace analysis in both Portugal and the UK. Some test results offered fleeting hope, such as trace fibers and ambiguous indicators of human remains. Other tests were inconclusive or failed to match Madeleine's DNA, turning each hinted breakthrough into fresh disappointment. Meanwhile, press coverage hardened into a vicious, sensational campaign of tabloid headlines, lurid theories, and online vitriol that amplified confusion and sparked libel battles. The McCanns entered long legal fights, including suits against Goncalo Amaral over his book that accused them, even as the growing knot of tips and forensic threads forced investigators to narrow their focus and set the scene for the next phase of the probe. In June 2020, German prosecutors stunned the public by naming a suspect. They identified Christian Bruckner, a German national long known to European police, as their prime suspect in Madeleine McCann's disappearance, and said they believed Madeleine had died shortly after she vanished from Praia Da Luz on May 3, 2007. The announcement was clinical and chilling. Bruckner was already serving time in a German prison for unrelated sexual offenses and drug crimes, and prosecutors disclosed fresh lines of inquiry, new witness accounts, mobile phone data, and criminal history links that prompted coordinated, intrusive follow-ups. Within days, the UK's Operation Grange and Portuguese authorities re-examined evidence, ordered renewed forensic testing, and mounted targeted searches of land and properties in the Algarve linked to Bruckner's known movements, while specialist teams rechecked trace material from the Renault Scenic hire car and Flat 5A. Those searches produced nothing definitive in public reports, but they sharpened the stakes. Investigators now had a named suspect with a documented violent record in the region, and forensic laboratories in Portugal, Germany, and the UK reopened archives of fibers, DNA swabs, and cadaver dog alerts for reanalysis. The breakthrough also exposed brutal limits. German prosecutors could investigate and name Bruckner under German law, but they lacked the automatic power to secure evidence or compel witnesses across Portuguese jurisdictional barriers. Portuguese prosecutors had their own evidentiary thresholds, and Operation Grange could cooperate but not charge. The result was a tense impasse, a suspect in custody for other crimes, a flurry of forensic re-examinations and searches, and an international case pushed to a breaking point without the legal consensus needed to deliver a final, conclusive resolution. In June 2020, the story reached an electric, grisly peak when the German federal public prosecutor publicly named Christian Bruckner as the prime suspect and said the working theory was that Madeleine McCann had died shortly after she vanished from Praia da Luz on May 3, 2007. The announcement was stark and clinical. It came against a backdrop of exhausted investigators, cadaver dog alerts, DNA retests, and decades of half-truths. Bruckner, already serving a prison sentence in Germany for unrelated sexual offenses and drug crimes, became the focal point of a narrative that combined forensic threads with witness statements and mobile phone data. Legal teams collided. German prosecutors outlined circumstantial elements. Portuguese authorities weighed jurisdictional limits. Operation Grange detectives in London scrutinized parallel lines of inquiry, and the McCann's lawyers pushed back against inference and sensational accusation. Media vans swarmed and tabloids churned lurid speculation into a feeding frenzy, while public feelings swung between hope and revulsion. The moment felt like a verdict without a courtroom. The accusation was public, the evidence compartmentalized, and the possibility of justice suddenly vivid yet painfully elusive. The outcome remained unresolved, caught between fragile hope for closure and the darker fear that certainty may never come. After German prosecutors named Christian Bruckner in June 2020, and after Operation Grange was reopened, the McCann case left a lasting institutional legacy. Police across Europe reviewed cross-border procedures, evidence sharing with Europol and Interpol increased, and missing person practice shifted to emphasize rapid forensic preservation and coordinated hotlines. Media conduct also changed. Newsrooms and regulators faced criticism for tabloid excess, wrongful accusation, and online vigilantism, sparking wider debates about privacy, defamation, and how to ethically report child disappearances. Kate and Jerry McCann continued their advocacy through the Find Madeleine campaign and pursued legal actions. while investigators and families have endured decades of emotional devastation, reputational damage, and unresolved grief. The case remains a grim, cautionary tale about modern investigations and public obsession, leaving painful questions about truth, justice, and how to balance the public's demand for answers with legal rights and human dignity.